There you go.
Thank you.
You're
Well,
welcome.
welcome to everybody to the September 26th, 2023 session of Tangerine SDR and Hamside Technical Session. My name is Dave, KB0S, and this week we had, 2 days ago, we had a big thunderstorm, so I shut everything down, lost about an hour or two, and then I put it back up. Just decided I didn't want to fry my radios. So that was it. I've been still running K9Q radio regularly with updates whenever I notice Phil changes something. So I'm making some headway. I also have been talking to Tom McDermott about setting up a RTL SDR, but I'm thinking of using one of my multiple RTL SDRs and see how well they work. So I'm going to do some experimenting and see if we can get a driver set up for that. So that's it for me. Next on the list, we have Nathaniel, W2NAF. Go ahead, Nathaniel.
Thanks, Dave. Things are moving along here as usual. I guess big news today is I got the Christina, Nathaniel Vishner, and we put together an ARDC grant proposal to help fund next year's Hamside workshop. So I've started circulating that with our administration at Scranton. So that should go in by the end of the week. And then we have to work on the NSF proposal. We got the proofs back from the Frontiers paper, which is really good. We are still working on going through and getting the author change list form done. That has just been a real drag trying to get every single person to sign that. We're working on it. If you had the proof, I'll send an email out about this tomorrow. I do invite you to read the proof, and if you find any errors, email me about the errors. I will compile them all into one single response document, and then hopefully we will catch all the errors, which is, of course, very complicated to do in a very long, thing like that. But we'll do our best. So, W2NF, back to net.
Yes, this is one of the biggest, longest author lists paper that I've ever had privilege to be part of. So I can imagine the trouble. I'm used to 6 or 8, but not more than that.
Oh, this is really a little ridiculous, but
yes.
Well,
it acknowledges the people that participated.
And that's what we really tried to do, because really for Hamside as a whole, we have had tremendous amount of participation in many insignificant ways from so many different people, and we tried to capture that as best we could.
Yep. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. It's going into my promotion dossier, which I'm also working on.
Okay.
So.
Well, good luck with that.
Thank you.
Next on the list, we have Phil, K9Q. Go ahead, Phil.
Hi. Let's see. Well, Rob was once again keeping me busy with bug fixes and little things. I've actually found a couple of bugs in my code in the last few days. People should pull down changes if they're running it. Let's see. What questions do people have?
I have a couple about configuring some of the things that you've had in for example, setting up an APRS radio.
Yeah.
That it said there's less information about that than the Whisper and regular radios.
Yeah, I haven't used it much. I mean, I do run it. I've run it for years on a machine over at the high school, but I haven't used it much else. I kind of wrote that stuff several years ago, but if
maybe I
write up on it, I can do it.
I'll talk to you later about that.
Okay.
So,
all right.
I am taking information for items so discussion items later. So if anybody wants to put things on discussion lists.
I know there are two that Rob has mentioned. One is multicast packet loss rates that Tom has been encountering. I'm inclined to think it's a problem in his network because I don't see them. Does anybody else see them?
I tried it iPerf 3 on my machines and I've had no loss detected.
I don't know what is iPerf, some network loading program?
It's a Linux package that can be, you set up one machine as a server and then test it on other machines, and you can go both ways or you can go one way.
Well, if you're flooding your network with test traffic, then yeah, I'd expect packets to get dropped. I mean, I know what's the problem here.
Yeah, iPerf uses TCP, and
Yeah.
it tries to measure the throughput of the link, and it
Okay.
reports the number of
Why are you
retries.
doing that? I mean, is the network good enough for what you want or not?
It's a way to verify that you don't have problems in your network prior to putting other traffic on it.
Okay, so wait a minute. Are you running this while you're running my stuff?
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well,
iPerf
I just
is
put in
run
just
the
right
absence-
now. What's that?
I'm running iPerf in the absence of other traffic.
Okay, and what does it say?
It says I'm getting just under a gigabit throughput and no retries.
Okay,
And the retries are about, it runs a total of about 200 and something megabytes every 5 or 6 seconds, no, maybe every 8 seconds, for about a 30 or 40-second period, and all of those run clean.
well, see, a gigabit is actually it's 128 megabytes per second. That's close to what I see.
Yeah, so it measures the link throughput. I get about a gig throughput on all combinations of all devices everywhere in the absence of any other traffic.
Okay, I just put into PCM record, which is the parent of WD record that Rob uses. I realize I'm already keeping a rough count of duplicate and dropped RTP packets, and I'm going to log those. Let's see, Rob, WD record is very closely related to PCM record, isn't it?
Yes, it's derived from it. I'll just take a look if I can see what the changes you made in PCM record. I'll go and incorporate them into WD record. You should also aware there is iPerf can be run in a UDP mode.
Yes.
So in fact, it's more.
I would recommend that.
It's much more useful to run it in UDP because you can then identify which direction the packet losses are occurring. And in fact, the TCP numbers are useful, but not really helpful for diagnostics. But
Agreed.
I mean, I don't know how anyone would know right now that they're experiencing. Tom, how did you identify that you had packet losses on the multicast stream?
Okay, well, let me, I run, maybe I should just start with mine. I've got a graph here. If I can share the screen here, I can present a graph.
Go ahead and try it.
Okay. Okay, this is a chart. Is it showing up okay?
Yes.
Okay, so I think I've isolated what might be going on. I've run 3 different Ethernet switches. And the way I measure outages, I look for gaps in the sequence numbers. Or this is using Franco's script. He runs T#, and it goes through looking for gaps in the sequence number. Also, PCM cat identifies drops in the RTP sequences as well, and they correlate with what T# indicates. So I've run the RTL-SDR at 4 data rates, 48K IQ, 96K IQ, 192K, and 384K. When I run them back to back between 2 machines, I get 0 dropped packets. When I run them through any of the 3 Ethernet switches that I have access to, I get the packet loss rates you can see on the chart. The ubiquity switch, that's the loss rate when IGMP is turned on or IGMP is turned off when I've turned off IGMP, I've made sure to remove slow devices and all Wi-Fi from the switch, physically unplugged the connectors. So there's nothing less than a gigabit. The Netgear is a managed switch, but a very dumb managed switch. And the Linksys is also a pretty dumb managed switch. And you can see the packet loss rates are almost zero, not quite. Two of the Ethernet switches have 0 packet loss rate at 48K. And one of them has, it dropped like 2 packets out of 65K. And then they go up at 96K, a little higher at 192. And 2 of them only go up a little bit more at 384.
Okay. All right. This immediately suggests something. I didn't realize you're running such high data rates. I write packets every 20 milliseconds.
Okay.
The packets are of a limited size. As the data rate goes up, there are going to be more and more of them written back to back. You see what I'm getting at?
Yeah. So I've noticed that when it loses packets, it always loses either 6, 22, or 54 packets.
Are they back to back?
Yeah, back to back, I never lose any packets. Back to back,
Okay.
just between the 2 computers, I have a 0 packet loss rate, independent of data rate. So, you know, so there's no software bug here because it talks back to back error free. It's just when I go through any of the Ethernet switches I have here that I start losing packets.
Okay. Can you support jumbograms?
Yes, I can.
Try turning them on. I know Pis won't easily generate jumbograms, and most other computers can. Try that.
Yeah, I'm using Linux box for the source and a Linux box for the sync. So
Well, it depends on the hardware, but most Linux devices can handle MTUs up to 9,000. Make sure your switch is set for that too.
Yeah,
I have a feeling you're running into a buffer exhaustion problem.
right. But if it's a buffer exhaustion problem, it's in the switch,
Right.
not in the computers.
Right. Correct.
Right. And so my thought was maybe because it's a multicast packet, something in software on the switch has to look at it.
No, it's probably not that. It's just because I'm sending them rapidly back to back.
Okay.
And I may be overflowing a port buffer in the switch.
Okay. I will
right.
try. I'll try and rerun these this week with jumbo frames.
Try jumbo frames is one thing, and I can also look at trying to paste my output packets.
Okay.
Not sending them immediately back to back like I am now.
Yeah.
There is a Linux service that allows you to meter out packets. I forget the name of it. Yes, there is. It's
Really?
you don't need to do it at the you can't do it.
It can go in the kernel, huh?
Yeah, it's done in the kernel. I'm sorry, I've never had to use it. I forget the name, but it does exist, and it allows you to establish the inter-packet gaps on the Ethernet inputs or outputs, rather, is a more important thing.
Okay, yeah. This is starting to look interesting because I didn't realize, Tom, you're running at such high sample rates. I thought you were using 12 like everybody has been using for HF.
Yeah. When I use monitor and I send FM traffic, I never drop any packets at all.
Yeah. On the other hand, before I merged the front ends into Radio D, I was running a separate multicast front end at very high rates. I didn't see the problem.
But you were sending them to yourself in the same machine.
No, even before then.
Yeah.
When I had them going from machine to machine.
Well, Phil, you use the Linksys 528, right?
326, I think, and 5.
Oh, okay.
Plus, I also have a Netgear. They seem to have some software bugs, so I don't particularly like them. But I have a GS 110 with PoE. I don't know if that matters.
Okay.
I
So
have
tell you
4
what, if someone can tell me how to enable packet pacing, I'd be happy to give that a try. I'll also try jumbo frames during the week. See if we can resolve.
Yeah, this is pointing at that. I mean, I don't know what else it could be, but this is what it's pointing at.
I would appreciate it once we figure it out that we write up a little thing that explains the situation.
Yeah, I figured with 3 switches, if I ran into it, other folks who are trying to run it are going to probably have the same issue.
Right. Well, I just put some, I think I mentioned I put some minor debugging statements into PCM record, which I guess Rob can carry over to WD record because they're close related.
Yep.
Okay.
Simply print some verbose error messages when a file is closed and there have been missing packets.
Yeah, the fact that the number of dropped packets is always, one of 3 values certainly smells like a buffer sizing problem.
Yeah, because I'm writing a burst of a given size every 20 milliseconds, depending on how big the data rate is.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's a relief. We seem to have found the
problem. I want to ask you before we go, what I'm trying to do is run this meeting with a check-in and discussion items. We've already discussed one of them.
Oh, all right. Sorry about that. You wanted to do a quick around first. All right.
Yes. So that people that have to go to other things can do that. So any other issues that you want to bring up, Phil?
That's pretty much it right now.
Yep.
I probably should have taken notes before the meeting, but that's all I can think of.
Okay. Well, I appreciate all your active updating in the code.
It's a bigger project than I thought it would be.
Yes. And you've been active in the documentation section too. I appreciate
not
that.
as much as I should have.
Yes.
Of course, I write it and then it becomes obsolete. They'll write it all over again. That's why I hold off doing it.
Yep. Okay, let's go through the list again. Rob, items that you want to talk about. And hello, what you been doing?
Well, I've been working with Phil on some of these issues. I've been working to get Whisper Demon fully integrated with K9Q radio. I have been testing. I have 3 of the modified RX 888s in the background. I've been using a beacon blaster. I'm doing a complete transmit to receive validation of the accuracy and stability of the whole system in anticipation of the eclipse. So in the background here, I have this is a beacon blaster. Excuse me. Let's see. You can see it. This is let's see. That's a beacon blaster. There's 6 outputs there, going to 3 different antennas. There's the combiner, and then these signals are being received by a bank of. There's a Kiwi and 3 of the RX 888s here, and I'm receiving these and validating the frequency and the spectral width, the in essence kind of the phase noise of the whole system. So this is to verify that the system will produce accurate data during the eclipse. So that's been my primary activity. What I've learned today is, boy, I need more Balgners. If anybody has some Balgners to lend, it would be helpful for me. I'm going to end up having. I've already bought two more Balgners, but
I've got one.
Wow.
So, one point is Dave and I have been working with John Ackerman to try to get him building some time GPSs as well.
Yeah, and John's project is based upon Glenn Elmore's design. I actually have one of those here. Okay.
He said he's making progress.
Good. Well, that's good. This is Glenn's design that he shared with John Ackerman.
Yes.
Unfortunately, this particular one is showing, well, it's very accurate. The spectral spread on it is not good, 10 to more millihertz. So I need to talk with John, but you know, as with anything, you need to test your measurement tools, and that's what I'm doing in anticipation of the in preparation for the eclipse.
Yes.
Rob, what sort of frequencies are you trying to get out of the Bodner or whatever?
The Kiwis want 66.66 megahertz. And the AAA's, I feed them 27 megahertz exactly, and the beacon blaster takes a 10 megahertz. So I have at the moment I only have 2 Bogners, and I've just this afternoon verified that the devices, if I use the Bogner at 10 megahertz to feed the beacon blaster, whether it's a Kiwi at 66 megahertz or the 888 at say 27 megahertz, they're within millihertz on 10 meters.
Yeah,
So they're right on.
It's 66.66 exactly.
Yes.
Okay.
It has to be. Yeah. Yeah.
That
And
I recognize that. We used to run the AMD chipsets at that.
so
Do you have more than one of receiver that's taking each of those?
yes, I do. I have 3. It turns out it's surprising to me, actually. It surprised me that I could do this. I'll bring you over here. Maybe I can show you. I know they're if I turn on the light, maybe it'll be a little clearer. There are, you see, these are the receive antennas for each
Right.
of the, okay. So there's, let's see if I can see it. Yes. Okay. There's 3 receivers, 3 888s. Each 888 is attached to its own host computer. This is an Orange Pi attached to this one. This is a Think Center, 6500, and this is a Ryzen 5, amazing CPU. This is a okay. I'm talking to this group of I'm in a conference call. This is a Ryzen. Anyway, these 3 are all driven by the same clock. In this case, I'm driving it from a mini Bogner, and this is outputting 27 megahertz. And I daisy chained these and terminated it at the end with a 50 ohm termination. And
right.
It turns out that, if you set the Bogner for 16 milliamps, these seem very, very stable. It isn't what I do long term, but it works quite well here. And all of these 3 agree on the frequency and the frequency that they measure is exactly the same on 10 meters. And the spectral spread, the Doppler shift, if you will, proxy for that, is also exactly the same between all 3 of these.
Yep, they certainly should be.
Okay, they should
you've
be.
done it right. That's good.
Okay, so this is a Kiwi, and this Kiwi is off of. I don't have 3 Bogners, but what so I'm feeding the Kiwi from one of the. This is a reference board that like the one that John is working on.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, my measurements right now show that the spectral spread is significantly worse. It's
Yeah,
like,
I just took a look at that design. I think it needs some work.
So I know that Glenn has been working on the code. There's some magic stuff inside the U blocks and so on that they need to work on.
Now,
But
I see you do have 2 Bodners.
I have
What's
2.
the other one going to?
The other one goes down to, this is the transmitter. This is one of
Is that the 10 megahertz?
Yes, the 10 megahertz goes into the transmitter.
I mean, 10 megahertz is easy to find a GPSDO to feed that.
Well, I know. I don't. I just
if you wanted to.
Yeah, but I don't have. I do, at the moment. This afternoon is the first time I realized that I really to do this test. I need 3 Bogners.
Okay, I was just wondering because
I'm
working on, or I have a little synthesizer that I use that it's not ready for dissemination, but could be used in something like this.
Well, the
multiply a Bodner.
Yeah, the Bogner is great. The mini Bogner, the dual output Bogner is almost useless to me. It's just I can't get the two exact frequencies out of them for any of the frequencies I want. But so the mini Bogners work great, and I just need a couple more for this, which I'm procuring. I'm getting. I think I have some friends who are going to lend me some that they're not using. But the results are that that when these 888s are properly driven by a clock, an accurate clock, and a phase, low phase noise clock. The 888 and Phil software generates exactly, I mean, to the millihertz on 10 meters, generates the transmits the exact transmit frequencies.
Well, it better.
Well,
That's my
you never,
feeling on it.
okay,
Yeah,
okay,
that's
but
the BL7 whatever's. They were caught being 10 to the minus 10th off, but these should be dead nuts. And the boat knows
if
it says it's on, it's on.
If it just, you got to, unless you test it, you don't know that it's working. So I've been testing. So this is
fair enough.
So in essence, this is a kind of in this room, what I'm doing is trying to prototype what I'm going to do during the eclipse, and others are doing among my group of using the beacon blaster with a GPS disciplined oscillator as the transmit source, and receives that are going to be mostly 888s at this point, I think, GPS disciplined 888s. So my goal is to verify that when they're so configured that that what we measure will be the perturbations, Doppler shift, and other frequency and signal level perturbations that are introduced by the ionosphere, not by our test equipment. And I think I now can assert that the system does do that. And so that's I do have a beacon blaster down here from Paul that is available if there were a good transmit site, a candidate transmit site that wanted to during the October eclipse. Ideally, we'd find somebody in like Colorado or Wyoming or someplace on the east side, because we'll have beacon blasters in Northern California and along the path of the eclipse, but we don't have any on the east side of the path of totality. So if anyone is interested, you need a multi-band antenna and pretty much nothing else. And, I have all the other equipment with it. You just plug it into power and plug it into your antenna. And Paul's product is really a marvelous device. He's done a wonderful job with it. It's couldn't be easier to use. So that's,
I'm sorry, what are you asking for, Rob?
Oh, transmit sites. Candidate, somebody who has an antenna, multi-band antenna, that is someone who is in east of the path of totality.
Okay. Well, I'm over in New Hampshire. I don't know if that might be too far.
I don't think that. I think somebody. I'm thinking of someone in the Midwest.
Okay. But I do have a good multi-band antenna for that.
I'm going to be somewhere along totality in Ohio. Just
well, we should. Yeah. Well, and I think, did you get my email, Jay, from last week? I sent you one.
Yeah, you sent me it, and I'm sorry I haven't responded yet. So
that's okay. But yes, for the April event, I'll have several sets of transmitters and receivers available. I'm not sure if I'm going to be up for driving that far east with all this equipment.
No, yeah, we're going to be we're staying outside of Cleveland somewhere.
Yeah.
So we can drive and be right dead center on the center line.
Okay. Well,
yeah. Of course, there's also a case they might be able to help.
Okay, well, we can talk about that. Right now, the issue is October. So anyway, that's what I'm doing, and I think that the results for this group is that the 888 design can achieve all of the goals that I think that we have for the project, the Personal Weather Station project. I have one whispered task left to do before eclipse, which is to make a an IQ recording mode so that during the eclipse, will not only be reporting whisper spots, but will be making recordings of the whole of all the whisper bands and archiving those so that they can be uploaded later and examined by researchers who are interested in that.
Yeah.
So that's my one Whisper Demon feature that I have to work on. And finally, Franco, thank you, wrote a little split program. Using that program, I was able to record the full 0 to 30 megahertz from spectrum or sample, the 60 megasamples. I could record that and into 1 minute long. I don't know, they were at 3.8 gigabytes for every 1 minute were being generated and written to the disk of my computer. So the 888 can be used to record the whole of the spectrum. I don't think we can do that at the same time that it's doing whisper decoding, at least not without some work from Phil. And I'm not sure it's worth his time to do it.
Yeah,
But
I
anyway,
can do it, but it's iffy. I think it's if you can have a separate machine dedicated to this, that makes me feel more comfortable.
Yeah. Anyway, that's so if someone has the 888, you could have a complete recording of the whole high frequency spectrum that could be examined later. That's working. I've verified it was working.
Rob, can I finish the roll call and then come back for discussion?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Dave.
So next on the list is Bob in 5BRG. Go ahead, Bob.
Hello, everybody. Just wanted to listen in tonight and don't have anything to add to the agenda items there, Dave. Back to you.
Okay. Next on the list, we have Bob in 4HY. Go ahead, Bob.
Hey, happy to be here listening in tonight. I'm headed up to Scranton in the next few days where Nathaniel and students and I are doing ionosonde and playing with the red pitaya.
Very good. Next on the list is Dave, KD0EAG. Go ahead, Dave.
Not a lot to tell about. I got an order off to JLC BCB finally, and at least got through the process the first time. And I just filled out an acknowledgement form that I had looked over the boards, and I guess they're in the queue. But they're probably not greatly useful to anyone but me, but at least this time around. But that's all for me.
Well, good. That's a step forward. Next on the list, we have David in 1HAC. Go ahead, David.
Good evening, Matt. Yeah, interesting discussion already, and of course I expect more later. But yeah, not a lot of going on, except I am trying to rework the my RX-888 to improve its thermal. Dave Witten has sent me apparently some of the thermal material, so I'll stuff that in it when it comes. Supposed to be here tomorrow, so more shall be revealed. And back to Net.
Very good. Next on the list, let's see if I've got, Jim, K4BSC. Oh,
Good evening,
BSA,
all.
sorry.
Good evening. Not a whole lot to report from here. I'm one of my knees finally said I quit. I don't want to be in here anymore, so I had to get it replaced. And still kind of recovering from that, and still kind of sleepy from it. It was 2 weeks ago today. Hopefully we'll have my RF recording off the grape up and running this week. I've got everything I need. Just need a little bit of bow grease to get everything in position. And that's proved to be a little bit tougher because of my relative lack of mobility now from this surgery. But I'll get there. Back to Net.
Well, thanks a lot, Jim. Next on the list is Franco, K4VZ. Go ahead, Franco.
A couple of quick observations on what was said so far. So first for Tom, as I said on Saturday, I was able to run Canon Q Radio on my Pi and GNU Radio on my computer with a switch which was a cannibalized Netgear, and no packet drops for about 12 hours of 192 kilobytes transfer. So in my case, I was not able to observe that thing, but my switch was just running OpenWRT, kind of hacked together last week. The other thing is for Rob, I think in your listing you showed not 3.7 but 7.3 gigs per minute, at least from what I saw the other day when you sent that. Another comment related to that, I think if you need, we can work on making sure that the RX 888 can run also different clocks than 27, because it can be, change the firmware to do a different clock, or we can change the driver to pass a different value than 27. I think
that would be useful.
Yeah,
that would be useful.
Yeah. Okay. I'll get in touch with you guys. I don't want to take over, or we can discuss it after that. Back to Nat.
Okay. Well, very good. And it sounds like you've been active this week. Next on the list is JWB8 SBI. Go ahead.
Well, good evening, everybody. Not really anything of worth merit or of interesting for the group here. So I'll say $73. Oh, and I hope for all of you that celebrated Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur that you had a happy high holiday season, and may you be sealed in the book of life for a good year. Back to Net Control.
Okay. And next on the list is Joe, W7LUX. Go ahead, Joe.
Thank you, Dave, and good evening, everyone. Got a couple of things here. We've had some big swings in the Doppler here over the last 24 or 30 hours. And let me share my screen real quickly. I've been watching very, very carefully what's been happening as far as the grape results go. And the two on the upper left are one by me and one by KF7YRS, about 175 miles away from here. They look pretty similar. I think things are working. Yes. And number two, on the right-hand side, Lee sent this one from St. George. Nice straight line. What on earth could cause that arch? There's a yellow arch right up here. And we're scratching our heads and we can't figure out what it is. So anyway, if anybody's got any ideas, I'd sure like to hear them. And one last thing, I've got digital RF running on this Win 10 system, but I don't know how to input data. If anybody has done that, I'd very much like some ideas on the best way to do that. Thank you, Dave.
Okay. I'm sure we have Bill. I don't know if we have Bill tonight.
We did have by the way, we did have a geomagnetic storm yesterday.
Yeah.
There you go.
Next on the list is John Lauber. Is that correct? Mike. Your mic is muted. Yep. Your mic.
Okay, now
there you go.
Thanks, and good evening, everyone. My call is Whiskey India 6 Papa. I'm a newcomer on the very steep part of the learning curve. I just put a grape on a grape node on line 069 and have that operating on 15 megahertz WWB. But I'm here primarily to learn. Unfortunately, I'll be out of the country during the eclipse, so I'll have to do all of that in retrospect. But this is all fascinating, interesting stuff, and I look forward to participating in the future. Thanks.
Yes, you're welcome, and please come back if you find it interesting. Next on the list is Jonathan, KC3EY. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Hi, everybody. It was a pretty busy week for me. One thing that I wanted to share was a really cool finding for the most recent geomagnetic storm. As you can see here, this is a plot of NAA, a stack plot. On the top is the absolute phase measurement. On the bottom is the amplitude of the signal. Goes from midnight UTC on the 20th to the 21st. And during that period of time, there was aurora observed in Pennsylvania, the typical low latitude aurora, with the red emissions. And so what we have here, we have three things that I just wanted to quickly mention. The first you see is that sawtooth in the phase measurement, and the phase measurement or the absolute phase measurement, and it also does not look like the typical absolute phase measurement. So that sawtooth seems to be a byproduct of the MSK demodulation of NAA. Their 180 degrees swings, and that was due to the GPS degradation during the when the CME hit. And so that was actually really cool. And what I would love to see is a plot of total TEC plot, which should correlate with that, because at that point where the sawtooth is, and most of this is where there was significant GPS degradation, and the absolute phase measurement is based on GPS timing. And the other thing that we have here in the amplitude plot, we have a lot of amplitude variation on a very a short time scale amplitude variation, which is normally seen during these types of events. I actually saw the same thing when there was visible aurora in Pennsylvania. It was the same thing. So the D layer was affected in that way. So I'm talking about the nighttime portion of the diurnal from midnight UTC to about 10. That is due to the influence of the particles of the CME on the signal, changing the absorption, which is really cool. And then the last thing is that during this same period, we have solar flares that were detected. We have a pretty big one around 1400, and two little ones around 1800. So this plot is a really good observation with what can happen on the VLF band during a geomagnetic storm that produces visible aurora. So that was a really good really good finding there, and I'm really pleased with this. I've also been working on my VLF system, and hopefully getting that ready for more testing. That's all I have. Back to Annette.
Very good. And next on the list is Michael Howen, AC0G. Go ahead, Michael.
Good evening, everybody. I've been only desultorily taking part in these things, unfortunately. Lots of activity with my kids and other family. I do, however, have two RX-888s. One of them is GPSDO controlled with a Bodnar, and I am curious about how I can put those effectively to use. I have a regular grape one or pseudo grape. I actually use a RSPDX and John Gibbons Linux kernel with cubic SDR and FLDigi to produce that data using FLDigi. But I am hoping that between now and the time of the eclipse, I can get something set up that enables me to use digital RF or just record spectrum for post-processing later. I haven't figured out how to do that yet, though, so time's flying by, and I'm hopeful that I can get something set up. By the way, I do have I'm in Missouri, Rob, in case that's a site that works, and I have a 200-foot T3 FD, so it's a multi-band antenna that would transmit pretty well as a candidate location in case that proves useful. Back to Nat.
Well, very good. And I think everybody else I've already talked to. So at this point, we're open for general discussion.
Okay, let me unmute there. Quick question, if Phil's still around, Phil, how does one enable jumbo packets in the A9Q radio?
Oh, all you have to do is, if you're root, you do it if, let's see, if config interface name MTU 9000. That sets the MTU, the interface at 9000, which is usual jumbo packet size.
Yeah. And does your software need a switch or a flag, or will it notice and automatically handle it?
Maybe automatic, but I don't want to commit to that. Let me look.
Okay.
Oh, it's hard coded. So I can tell you where it is, but it would be better if it actually adapted, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if you just, if there's just
Yeah.
a command line parameter, that'd be fine too.
Let me figure out how to make that adaptive. I think I can query the output route, find the MTU and adapt to it.
Okay.
Right now it's set to 960 bytes fixed. 480 samples, 480 16-bit samples per packet.
So if it's adaptive, does that mean that it would slow down potentially, or?
No, by adaptive, I mean it will look at the interfaces going out on, find its MTU size, and then configure the packet size accordingly. Right now, it sends a fixed size, assuming the MTU is 1500. And it's actually smaller than that to make it a round number.
I have a quick question. Is there a source online for that has the Linux digital RF scripts that Bill Engelke is using for Grape Ones?
I would assume it's the Haystack GitHub.
You
Is that
want
right,
the
Tom?
Yeah, that's where I got it.
Well, those are the standard digital RF libraries, but I'm thinking about the scripts that are used for uploading to the University of Alabama
Bill
repository
has them
with the
Bill has
appropriate
them
metadata.
available as an image.
I think he basically wants you to work with him on that directly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Michael, Bill has a Raspberry Pi image, and I guess if you're trying to use it with non-grapes, just email Bill Engelke and he should be able to provide you the scripts.
Will do. Thanks.
Sure. I'm not sure. I think an update from last week, the grape receivers that the New England Grape Group have been building, they have been shipped over the past week, and I now have mine over here sitting on my desk right there. And I don't have it running yet because I need to get another micro HDMI cable, which should be coming in the next day or so, but people are getting those put online.
And do the people also have the Bogner GPS devices available to them, or is that still happening? It seemed like they were late getting the order placed for that, and I was concerned.
Yeah, no, we have for the ones that the New England Grape Group put together, the Bodners are all on the board.
Good.
Yeah, it shipped with a Raspberry Pi 4B, the Bodner, the what was it? Let's see if I can. So yeah, it's very nicely put together. Raspberry Pi. There's a Sabrent USB sound card device. There's the Grape. There's the Bodner. All on a nice. It's a really actual real breadboard construction. So they mounted everything on an actual breadboard.
Yeah, those Bogners are one tricky thing is they don't have a way to really mount them. You have, did they just strap them down, or I was noticing, I think I'm going to take the screws out of the end plate and I'm making some little brackets to mount it with.
They used a double-sided
tape. Okay.
Yeah, tape, like double-sided foam tape pads.
All right.
One of the amateurs down south of Tucson received his Friday, and he's got that thing up and running already.
Good. On that, on those graphs that you showed there, Joe, too, it looked like on one of the other systems had a real nice big yellow spike on the side too. It wasn't a nice long McDonald's arch, but it was just a single spike, it looked like.
There are lots and lots of those.
Yeah.
But that was a good comparison between here and 175 miles away. Kind of gives me confidence that things are actually working well.
Yeah, that looks very good. I'm very encouraged by your data, Joe.
I'm just glad it's working. Everybody's put a huge amount of effort into this.
I know. I'm very glad it's working too.
Well, Lee is really interesting because yeah, I'll go ahead and do it for you, Joe, and for the project, but he wasn't real enthusiastic since he has seen some of the changes in the Doppler shifts in the ionosphere. He has suddenly become extremely interested in what's going on up there.
That's great.
And we're trying really hard to get digital RF running so we can take a look at all the data that's been stored on the hard disk.
That's really good.
So boy, if anybody knows how I can get data into that thing, I think it's running. I just don't know how to get the data in. How to read the data.
So which data are you trying to read again?
The data that the grape is saving to the big hard disk. All of that data saves every minute. It saves a big chunk of data.
Well, you're not seeing the files that it's creating?
Oh, I know where those are. I just don't know how to feed them into the program digital RF from Haystack.
Oh, okay. So you just have, I think those are IQ files, and you need to be able to read those IQ files and feed them into the Haystack RF program. That's what.
Yeah, they're HDF or H5 or something like that.
Yeah. Are you using GNU Radio?
No, I'm using just I don't know how to use GNU Radio. I'm not a very good programmer.
Okay, because GNU Radio will do all that automatically.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe that's the secret.
Well, it's certainly one way you could go about doing it. The digital RF does have a GNU Radio source and sync, so you would be able to load that in and then point GNU Radio to your data files, and then you'd be able to run it through the FFT routines that are built into GNU Radio. The other way is that digital RF does have built-in plotting routines that are based on matplotlib, and that will allow you to have more customization and control over what you are plotting, but it is more difficult to use.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And so the digital RF software itself does have a plotting library. I can point you to where that is.
I have a question about digital RF though. Is there a way that you don't need to use GNU Radio? Can you store the PC, Phil's code has PCM record and stores wave files for every SSRC. Can you take the wave files and convert them to digital RF storage format, or is that even necessary? Is it fine just to store some wave files? I mean, what would be the most useful if I can capture all 6 WWV stations and store wave files for them? Can I route them through with digital RF? Not route them, but I mean convert them into digital RF format, or is a wave file by itself sufficient?
You should be able to convert them to a digital RF format. I'm uncertain whether GNU Radio is required to do that. I believe digital RF has a way that you can use it without GNU Radio. But if I were to do what you wanted to do, I probably would use GNU Radio. Are the wave files useful by themselves? Yes, I believe they are. However, the central database is designed to take the digital RF files. So if you had it in that format, then it would most directly go into the database that Bill has set up.
And Nathaniel, my question is, what meta information do you need on those files? What do they have on them?
I don't remember the exact format. We'd have to ask Bill.
I mean, no, just tell me what kinds of information are there.
Things like the center frequency, the sample rate, the location of the station, timestamps, all of that's in the metadata.
Okay, all right. Well, I put a lot of timestamps in my files. Even though they're WAV files, I attach external file attributes, and
right.
It should be easy to write a program to convert from one to the other.
Yes, I agree with that.
Well, digital RF is a Python project.
Yeah, there's a PyPy or whatever it's called. The Haystack people have a Python module that you can use to write scripts. That might be more, at least for Michael, might be more accessible.
Okay.
I just put a link to the project. in the chat.
Well, the problem, in part, the problem is that the digital RF files that Bill Engelke wants are just 10 hertz wide, right? And the samples are 10 per second. So the amount of data that Phil's code is dumping into a WAV file is considerably more than that. So there'd have to be a filtering between the WAV file and the conversion into digital RF. But what I was hoping one could do is use a Python script to perhaps take those WAV files and just directly convert each of them into an uploadable file on all 6 frequencies listened to concurrently, and then every hour or every day, I guess that's the sequence that Bill's system uses, upload the results.
I think that would be possible. Also, I know Bill's system is mostly taking in 10 hertz of data right now, but it should also be able to take in larger bandwidths. And if the resources are available, that would in fact be preferred, especially because you can use those additional additional characteristics, or was it signals in the sidebands, in order to disambiguate between WWV and WWVH. So yes, you could. I'd actually be very interested to see if you could send your wider band data converted to digital RF up to Bill's server, not just the 10 hertz.
That'd be great, because at least I don't have to do the downsampling and the bandwidth narrowing, and you could just take Phil's product from PCM Record, convert it into the HD5 format, and then send it up every day.
Yes,
be a bigger file, and I think Bill has already mentioned that the overall storage capacity that he has is not infinite. So, but maybe for purposes of just the Eclipse, it might be useful.
Yes, I believe so. I absolutely believe that. Okay, I found here. I'm going to put in the chat. This is the script, or the library that does the plotting in digital RF. It's called DRF plot.
That's for Joe.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But I also echo Phil's question about the metadata, because that's the other part about what would be included in that per stream. Anyway.
Yeah, I would, please contact Bill Engelke. He can give you those details, and he will give you those details.
Yeah, that has been defined.
Yeah.
Nathaniel, one of these days in the future, what I wanted to do was I wanted to try to utilize VLFRX tools on a grape, because VLFRX tools has pretty much all of the analysis and visualization utilities that are required, and you don't have to go through the trouble of digital RF and everything, even though that that's the format that everybody agreed upon. I wanted to at least try it to see what sort of visualization and analysis that I can do with a Grape One audio feed using VLFRX tools. So one of these days, I would like to try it and see, because it could generate the same spectrogram plots and show the Doppler flash, and it could show it could also plot the um, um, power of the signal and frequency. You know, like everything that's done right now can be done with VLFRX tools. So one of these days in the future, I would like to try it. I suggested it to John about a year and a half ago, and he wasn't too receptive on it. But you know,
Yeah, I
one of
think
these
it's a
days,
I think it's a great idea, Jonathan. And you can either do it, you can either do it with grape data that already exists, or, as we get some of these grapes online, um, I'm sure we can get you a chance to try it on a grape itself.
yeah, I would have to try it on a grape itself, instead of using it uh the instead of using FL Digi or anything else. I would just use VLFRX tools I could do on my VLF system and simply record the signal that way and set up scripts to generate daily plots and things like that. Because I wanted to see how useful it was, but I never had an actual grape to try it out. So one of these days, I'd like to give it a try.
I think that sounds good.
It seems to me that there's two interesting aspects to this. One is the idea that you're trying to collect data in hopefully a bunch of different stations and have uniform data collection schemes with the right metadata identification so that you can analyze it cleanly later. But then there's also some interest in almost like a real-time monitoring of what's happening during the eclipse, if possible. Like I'm going to be involved with the Society of Amateur Radio Astronomers, SARA. We're having our annual conference at UTD next April during the eclipse. And there'll be a pretty good sized crowd there. And there's a hope to be able to set up some stations and do some monitoring of things there. But this data that'll be coming in live, I guess, into Bill's system, if some rudimentary look at some of that data was possible there, it would be interesting to people, I'm thinking. But scientifically, it's going to take a lot of weeks, I think, or time to analyze the data and decide if there's any interesting stuff there.
Yeah, I think that would be nice. I don't know if we certainly have intentions of getting visualization on Bill's server. I don't know if that will be ready for doing real time by the April eclipse.
Right. The other thing that seems a little bit disturbing is the comments that Jonathan was making earlier, showing in his data the variations in the GPS timing signal affecting his reference oscillator, if I understood all that right, versus, you're trying to sort out ionospheric changes and any other impacts of the system here. You may have two different things going on at once and hard to sort out which one is really causing the change.
Yeah. I think I just saw some other comments. Terry Bullitt had some comments about the eclipse affecting GPS earlier this week, but he didn't seem to think the effect was going to be significant at HF.
Well, we have the corona mass ejections are not necessarily going to be happening during the eclipse, but it could turn out that they do.
Yeah.
They do, it'll make some great pictures.
Yeah.
It would, wouldn't it? There's usually something there, right? I guess. The pictures you see always have them there. So
yeah,
maybe they're happening so frequently that there's going to be some guaranteed, just not aimed at us.
Bob brought up an interesting point. That is that somebody has asked me if they could just use the 888 or another SDR radio or just an off-the-shelf AM radio to monitor, and if the data would be usable if they were to inject, say, a signal from the Leo Bodnar or Leo Bodnar. But I'm not sure about the characteristics, the digital signal processing.
Well, we
and all of that.
we have another experiment that's specifically for recording AM, like regular AM signals. That what's his name? Nick Hall Patch is organizing. So it's just not perhaps as well publicized, but it's called a medium wave recording event. Here, I'll put that in the chat.
Okay. Let me
So
grab
there,
that and send it off to this person that asked me about this.
there's quite a bit of information on that page.
Got it. Thank you, Nathaniel.
You're welcome. I think it's 10:15 here. I think I'm gonna say 73 for the evening. But thank you very much, everybody.
Who wanted the variable MTU?
Who wanted that?
Yeah, was that Tom?
Yeah, yes.
I think I just have it done.
Amazing, amazing.
Little burst of WWV you heard was me testing it.
Okay. I will pull the latest and give it a try.
I haven't pushed it yet. Give me a minute.
Okay. I'll wait. I'll wait.
Okay.
Thank you, Phil.
Sure.
Thanks for all the work you've done there, Tom, collecting all that data, and Phil, you know, trying to fix these problems. I have seen some packet drops too myself, but I'm not studying as closely and extensively as Tom is.
Yeah, I see them mostly on Wi-Fi. I mean, Wi-Fi has inherent problems, but
Not using Wi-Fi.
okay.
Have a good night, everybody.
Take care.
Good
Thank
night.
you.